Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Next Team podcast. And I'm Tarun. I'm going to be your host for today. And we actually have another special episode lined up for you today. Now, if you've followed us on Instagram, if you've seen our recent updates, you would know that we're actually planning to branch out into other sports, which is mainly cricket and F1. And you might have seen our latest cricket episode recently. And so today we are having our first ever F1 episode. Yay! So joining me today, we have BK, we have Vikas, and we have what's up Vikas? And we have for the first time ever on TNT, our newest member for today, Yash.
Hi guys, what's up?
So how's everyone doing today?
Oh, I'm good.
All good.
Good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good. So anyway, before we get started with the episode, just want to say thank you all for your support. It really means a lot to us, and we'd really appreciate it if you could, give us more support by following us on Instagram at the Next Team SG, and also do subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Spotify. And you can just stay updated with the latest episodes whenever they are released. So let's jump into the episode proper. First things first, the most recent race, the Spanish GP. It's a well-known race for being very boring, but I don't know. I thought last week was not so boring. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it wasn't that boring.
Yeah.
It's an exception to the norm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Usually I feel
go on.
Spain always has this aura around it being quite a boring track because it's been a testing track for so long, and it's very hard to overtake on such a track. But I think this year the strategy was the one which I think kept us on our knees, I would say.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they didn't really the the expectation for the race wasn't really that high because there are only really like 3 overtaking zones in Catalonia, and they updated the track so that turn 10 is less of a hairpin and more of a smoother corner, and that ruined any other opportunities for overtaking there. So essentially
Exactly.
it just became a circuit with 2 overtaking zones.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so no one thought that this race would be exciting. And to be fair, it wasn't that exciting. It was just it wasn't as bad as we thought it would be.
It wasn't
Not bad,
exciting.
but
It was just
yeah,
not boring, I
yeah,
guess.
it was just not boring.
Yeah.
But there were quite a few midfield battles as well throughout the
Yep.
race, which was
Yep.
quite
Yep.
interesting.
Yeah.
The race for 10th was quite.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we'll come to that in a bit, but I think the most important team surrounding the Spanish GP, and I think every GP that we've had this year has been the Mercedes versus Red Bull battle, or more specifically, I would say it's the Hamilton versus Verstappen battle, and obviously it didn't stop this race. I think it was a really exciting race in that regard, with Mercedes' double stop strategy. So, what? Okay, let's just start by talking about that. What do you think Mercedes did right, or what could Red Bull have done better to not have this happen? Maybe BK, you want to start first?
Yeah, sure. I tell you what Mercedes did right. They bet on the right horse. They realized that not they realized they thought that Red Bull wouldn't make the right call, and they were right. So I feel that Red Bull could have won this race. Obviously not easily. It's never easy when you're battling a team that has gone 7 years in a row, or was it 8 years in a row, for drivers' championship? Was it 8? Is it 8 or 7?
Seven.
Seven.
I think
Seven.
Yeah.
Seven.
Since
Yeah,
2014.
7.
Yep, 7. So I'm just it's never easy, right? But I feel that Red Bull are constantly using this excuse that Mercedes has the better car, and I think the car isn't everything, because
That's true.
yeah, the car isn't everything. You have to, like, strategy is very, very important. And had Red Bull pitted the lap after Lewis pitted, they could have gone on to win the race. And I will die on this hill, no matter what anyone says, because Bottas was too far back, and once Hamilton pitted and Verstappen came around for the to the pit lane, Hamilton was about 1.5 seconds behind.
Yeah.
I mean, no, not 1.5 seconds behind. 23.5 seconds
Yeah.
behind.
Yeah.
The pit lane. The time is like 22
22
seconds.
22
seconds, yeah.
seconds, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he was 1.5 seconds behind in theory. So I just feel they should have taken the shot. This has already happened before. They've already bottled a race
Yeah, I
back
think it
in
was in
Hungary.
Hungary. Yeah,
Yeah,
Hungary.
Hungary
Quite a few years-
2019.
couple years ago.
2019.
Yeah, and I just feel like they didn't. I think there's a I don't know what to say. Red Bull have an issue with taking responsibility for bad judgment calls that they make, because I don't know if you guys watch the post race interviews. Christian Horner was congratulating Toto Wolff.
Mercedes. Yeah.
Yeah, and he said, yeah, congratulations, you had the faster car. No, no,
Yeah.
congratulations, because they won the race by making the right call, having the better strategy. And it's not even that. Like Christian Horner made the wrong call, right? So he shouldn't be shifting blame like, oh, Mercedes just has the fastest car. Like, I think they're starting to use it as an excuse.
I mean, he doesn't
And
want to admit defeat, you know.
Yeah,
I think that's
exactly.
one way to show it off as, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, to be
Red
fair,
Bull,
I guess
yeah,
that's
go on,
human nature in a sense. Like, you don't want to say that you don't want to point out your own team's failings in that sense. You don't want to say that
Yeah.
you made
Yeah.
the mistake.
See,
But-
for the past few years, Red Bull could have used that as an excuse because arguably for the past few years, Mercedes did have the stronger car at the start of the season, and Red Bull came back, you know, after probably the middle half of the season. But then this year, from the get-go, we can see that Red Bull and Mercedes, they are, you know, tip-toe with each other.
Yeah.
And
R-
this was, I would say, Red Bull's race to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, Red Bull are closer to Mercedes than ever. Like,
Yeah.
they are really they should at least give them a good fight for it, which I think they're doing. But really, the Spanish Grand Prix should have been won by Red Bull.
You know why I feel Red Bull have this issue with the strategy? It's
Go on.
because of their second driver not being there to support Max. Like, you know how Bottas is always there to cover any strategy from Red Bull if Max is there.
Yeah.
But then the same thing doesn't apply when Max is at the front because Checo is just not up there with Max. And this has been a problem for the past 2-3 years since, you know, Ricardo left Red Bull.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah.
point, actually. I would say that I think Checo is a step up from Albon, definitely. I think Albon was given enough time in the Red Bull car, but for some reason he wasn't able to prove it. But I would think that Checo has, I guess, bridged that gap in a sense, in terms of driver ability. When you compare it to between Albon and Verstappen the previous season, so I think definitely Red Bull have a much better chance of challenging Mercedes than they ever did. I think this is the best chance of breaking that. I guess the Mercedes
dominance.
dominance. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, I read this very controversial statistic recently on Twitter. I was just scrolling through and I saw that comparing Gasly, Albon, and Perez, Perez actually has the worst start compared to both of them. It's just a
Oh.
controversial statistic, I feel.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And but to be fair, well, not to be fair, Sergio Perez did actually say before the start of the season, he said that it takes about, because he's been driving for whatever Force India and Racing Point, you know, that team
Yeah.
For a very long
close
time,
to
yeah.
6 years he was driving for them, and I think it might be 5 years. Yeah, 5 years he was driving for them. So he says that to sort of gel into a new car and a new team, like a completely
it
different
takes
car.
time. Yeah, it takes
Yeah,
time.
he said 5 races,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
I think Monaco's the 5th race, right?
Yep.
Or-
Yep, it is.
yeah. So
So I guess we can judge him.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
we
mean,
on
we
can
how
can
he
judge
see
him
drives
this.
after
Yeah, I mean,
Monaco.
not just about Perez. We can see that across the field as well, where Ricardo is struggling a little bit in a McLaren
Yep,
against
absolutely.
Lando, and then you also have Yuki struggling against Gasly. So it's not just Perez who's struggling in a new car. So
Yeah.
I guess all these like new driver transfers, they will take some time to get in. But of
Yeah.
course, we have seen, I think, glimpses of what Perez can do. Where I think in Imola, he got second in quali, which
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
which was I think a great performance by him to beat Max. Although Max did make a mistake, but then you know you have to still beat someone. So
Yeah.
Of course.
Last season he won a race at Racing Point, right? And he was starting at the back of the grid, if I'm not wrong. Was it?
Yeah,
No, he ended up 20th.
Last,
Yeah,
yeah.
he ended up
at the
last
first
because
lap.
of a bad
crash,
start, a
yeah.
crash, right?
Yeah.
Because of,
Mm-hmm.
and then he managed to win the race at the end, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like Checo isn't a good starter, at least in recent times. Like he generally tends to pick up during the race itself, and his qualifying positions, even for Racing Point, aren't, I would say, as consistent as you would want him to be. But I think he makes up for places in on Sunday itself, on the Sundays itself.
Yeah, well, you have to
Yeah.
give credit to Checo. He is an experienced driver, so he has that racecraft. So he can definitely
Yeah.
perform on Sundays.
Yeah,
Except
I think it
maybe
was
one or
in
two races he
Portimao. I
hasn't.
think. Yeah, I think it was in Portimao where he was on one tire for like, I think 50 odd laps,
Mm.
and that kind of I think helped Max to I think get second place. I think. So like we can see that Checo, he has all the qualities to be a successful driver. It's I think just about him finding his proper sweet spot in the second car, and I hope eventually or very very soon he'll be able to be up there with Max, because I think Max does need that second driver if he wants to
Yeah.
challenge for the World Drivers' Championship.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean it's only fair
That's true.
considering he's going up against a driver who also has a second driver of sorts. But
Yeah.
okay, that I think that brings us to the next big thing that happened in Spain, which was Valtteri Bottas refusing to concede his position to Lewis Hamilton,
Yep.
as Hamilton was hunting down Max Verstappen.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I mean, team orders are nothing new to F1. We've seen it for a very long time, of course. But it's always this sort of, I guess you could call it a stigma around actually issuing a team order.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. What do you guys think? I feel that team orders are like it's a good thing. It can be a good thing because ultimately it's a team that should come first. So I don't see what's wrong with team orders as long as they're not overused in a season, and
Yep. I feel team orders they are necessary for the greater good of the team.
Mm-hmm.
But if we are talking about Bottas being selfish, because he obviously didn't let Lewis by.
Yep.
Um,
He didn't give
Lewis
him
had
an
to-
easy time at least.
yeah, he didn't. Lewis had to actually overtake
He had to
him.
actually go around.
Yeah. So for that, in the situation that he was at the time during the Spanish race, that's wrong because Lewis was clearly faster. He's on the new tires, and he was very clearly faster. But I can understand because this is a guy who's been like, this is his fourth season, 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21. It's his fifth season at the team,
Yep.
and he only has for a team that's so dominant, right? I think Bottas only has like 12 wins, I think. You guys might want to check that, but what I'm saying is constantly when he was in winning positions, he has had to give up the space to Lewis, and to the point where it's like a meme. Everyone knows the "Hey Valtteri, it's James" meme. So
Yeah.
I think once you have had like something taken away from you so many times, I think there has to be a certain point where he just doesn't care. I think personally he knows that it's his last season at the club. At the club.
At the
At the team. At the team. Still first episode, guys. First episode.
Yeah.
So so it's his I think it's his last year at the team. A lot of people have the same opinion as well. So he thinks, I mean, like, what are they gonna do? Sack him mid-season? He very explicitly said that Mercedes don't change drivers halfway through the season. So he's thinking, you know what? If I'm gonna be here, like, for the rest of the season, what do I have to lose? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I understand, and it has to. You think about it. You spend your entire life becoming an F1 driver, and you have so many. How many like wins taken from you? How many title challenges, like championship? How many championship titles have been stolen from you? Like, I think that kind of plays on his mind, and I think at this point he's just had enough, and he just doesn't care.
I think it comes down to the fact again. I think being a driver, I know you consider F1 as a team sport, But for the drivers themselves, I think in a way it is an individual sport, because as we all know, F1 is known to be quite cutthroat, in a sense that if you don't perform, you lose your seat, and every aspiring driver wants to be part of that 20-man grid, um,
Yep.
for the Formula One weekend. And for me personally, I feel what Bottas did was acceptable. I think it's very natural for a team to want one thing and the driver to want one another thing. It's perfectly normal. And I think I was watching the Netflix show. They're talking about how Bottas had to
Yeah,
let.
the episode 3.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was in Sochi 2018, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, he had the team orders back then.
He had, yeah, and then he let Hamilton pass, and then he said never again, because he was, I think, in that race they were trying to see off Vettel for the world, I think, the drivers championship,
Yep.
and because of that, Valtteri was denied a win, and
Yep.
I think it's justifiable given the history of how they've handled both these drivers, and for me, I think Bottas did nothing wrong, and at the same time, Mercedes are well within their rights to order their drivers to do or follow a certain strategy, because end of the day, there are so many people who are dependent on that one team's performance in the weekend. I mean, it's just two people wanting different things, and I think both are justified in whatever decision they make.
Yeah,
Right.
for me, it's more of the case of, I think, as a driver, okay, you need to be logical about two things. One is, of course, you have to take in consideration of your own achievements, but then at the same time, you're also fighting for the constructors' championship, you know. And in this case of Bottas, in my opinion, I feel Bottas should have just let Hamilton pass because,
Yep.
first of all, Hamilton was on a completely different strategy, and that means Bottas was technically already a pit stop behind Hamilton in that case. So there was literally no point for Bottas to fight Hamilton. I mean, in this case, luckily both of them Hamilton went by smoothly. But then if
They
there was
actually
a
got very
crash,
close when you look
yeah,
at the
it got very
replays.
close, exactly. But if they had crashed, then that's causing team a lot of harm where it was completely unnecessary. And just a
Yep.
few races back, I think it was in Imola where McLaren ordered Ricardo to let Lando pass,
Yep.
and Ricardo obliged immediately and let Lando through, and Lando got a podium because of that. He
Right.
finished
Yeah.
second, right? Yes, he finished second
Yeah.
that race.
He
So,
was a third, I think, behind Lewis.
Third. He finished third.
oh yeah,
in
sorry,
that race,
third.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
my bad. Yeah, third. So I think you need to be logical. Whereas, of course, if you're in a situation where you're fighting for the win, and it's if you both of you are fighting for the championship, let's say Bottas and Hamilton, then in that case, of course, even if Max is in that drivers' championship situation, you should not, like, Bottas shouldn't be the one allowing. Like that was the case in, I believe, Sochi in 2018, where Bottas listened, and obviously it helped Hamilton win the championship, but then in that case it wasn't right, and I think we all knew at that time that what Mercedes ordered Bottas to do was just not within the spirit of the sport.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, as a
Okay.
driver, in my opinion, you should be logical about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to since we are talking about Sochi 2018, so he had the win taken away from, well, not taken away from him, but he had to let Lewis pass and everything, right?
Yeah.
So remember, like a few minutes ago, I said Bottas has won 17 races. He's only actually won 9, and
Oh,
he
wow.
won no races in 2018. So
Wow.
yeah, so you can see how much that can sort of play on a driver's mentality. Like, he has to be sick and tired of it at this point. He
Yeah,
has
yeah.
just for some perspective, Fernando Alonso has 1,900 points. That's a two-time world champion. Has 1,900 career points, and Valtteri Bottas has 1,560,
Oh,
and he doesn't even have double-digit wins. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, like, you will be sick and tired of it at some point.
mm-hmm.
But the thing is, I feel he has. I hate to say it, but I mean, nobody is gonna admit it, but he is Mercedes' second driver. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
the stats speak for themselves.
Yeah.
So
I think he himself admitted it in the Netflix show itself. Like, he feels that he's the number 2 driver. That's the way the people around view
Yeah.
him. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's difficult. I think for any driver to actually fill the shoes of a second driver to Lewis Hamilton, I think it's a big ask, and it's very natural to be overshadowed. And yeah, I mean, personally, I respect Hamilton for what he's done, but I hope he retires soon so that we have more open races.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
But
but to
I
be
think, yeah,
yeah,
go
go
on.
ahead, go ahead. Okay, because to me, I feel that honestly, I don't see Hamilton retiring for another couple years at least, and I don't think that Mercedes would actually leave Bottas for George Russell because if you look at in terms of team dynamics perspective, this is Mercedes' dream. Okay, where you have one driver who's just too good, second driver who's good enough to get you the constructors championship. So it's a
Yeah,
perfect balance for Mercedes in this case. Of course, we as fans want to see George get that seat so that we can see how George will fare against Lewis or, fight for wins and stuff. But then, as a team's perspective, this just gives Mercedes the best, strategic
yeah.
options towards winning the constructors.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I want Bottas to succeed, I feel he's a very good Saturday driver where he can, get a good quali lap out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, Lewis is just superior. Like on Sundays, Lewis will immediately come back and yeah, he's just like Lewis is just untouchable on the Sunday, and in Saturday as well, he's just got his recent 1,000 one not thousand 100
100
100
goals.
pole.
goals.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so yeah,
yeah. But the thing about that is, I don't think it's a case of whether Mercedes will keep Bottas. I think it's more of a case of whether Bottas would want to stay at Mercedes because both Mercedes drivers are running out of contract at the end of this year. So uh, it's just a case of if another position opens up, but it will only open up towards the back of the grid. That's a valid point, but
Mm-hmm.
is whether Bottas will take another Mercedes contract. Because I think Mercedes will be very happy to keep him because he's been the perfect second driver. I hate to say it again, but he
yeah.
He
he's
is,
been for most of the times he respects team orders and everything. So I think Mercedes will be happy to keep him. It's just whether Bottas stays.
But then I don't think Bottas would even want to leave in the first place because this is his only chance, if you're really being logical about it, to win or even compete for a World Drivers' Championship. Because once he leaves Mercedes, that's it. The dream is over. We all know that he's not going to get a seat at any other big team. That's for sure. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
But to be fair, you could say that Ricardo gave up that dream and went to Renault, right? Like
yeah.
he
Possible.
left
But
an
but but it
established team and
backfired. If you look
yeah,
at
yeah,
it,
it did,
his
it did, it did. But
yeah.
I
Like
feel
even Ricardo would admit that was a pretty big step back when it comes
yeah,
to fighting for the
Yeah.
title.
it
Exactly.
definitely
But
is.
because I think he was hoping similar to what Hamilton did. I think
Yeah.
before moving to Mercedes, he was at McLaren, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
Yep.
yeah.
at that time Mercedes wasn't an established team yet, and it
Mm-hmm.
was it was it was more of a gamble. And I think Niki Lauda convinced him to go over to Mercedes,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
in the end, it paid dividends for Hamilton. It worked out for him in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's the same gamble that Ricardo was trying to take, but unfortunately, it didn't pan out the way he wanted to. But I think they were
Mm.
doing pretty well towards the back end of last season,
Yeah.
and perhaps, I mean, okay, McLaren, I think is still a good step for him. I think it's a step in the right
I
direction.
would say it's a step above, in fact.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
true.
But we can't sleep on Alpine this season. I think they've improved quite a lot. They got rid of Cyril, which is a good decision, and yeah, I mean they are
No,
doing.
but
They're
I'm
much
gonna
more
miss his
consistent now.
Netflix.
Yep, Cyril Abiteboul.
Yeah. Gonna miss him on Drive to Survive.
Yeah,
That's for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think at this point Bottas is I don't really think he'll stay. Like if you're talking about him like fighting for the world the championship, he's already we are 4 races in, he's already 33 points behind. So and we all know he's never getting the preferential strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And bottom line, Lewis is a better driver than him. So unless he can stick himself on pole on Saturday, like I'm speaking about Bottas, unless Bottas can stick himself on pole every Saturday, he can't expect to have the better strategy. So I feel I think that reality would have creeped into his mind by now, and it sucks. I really do want to see him succeed, but what can you do? That's
Yeah, but
F1.
then also to get that preferential strategy in the race, I believe Mercedes, how they operate is they have 1-2. Whoever's the first driver gets the
Yeah, yeah.
call to pit first.
Mm.
So, and I think the only time this season we've seen Bottas at the front was in Portimao, and Hamilton came and overtook him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this just comes to show how Hamilton is just such a beast, on the Sunday. And even the race before in Imola, for all the controversy of the crash between him and George Russell, you should see the fact that he was almost a lap down to Hamilton at that stage of point
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
race, and I think that's
I think it's just the fact, like, you had to consider that it was a Mercedes fighting with a Williams.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
like, yes, okay, there was rain, and that tends to even things out when it comes to car performance and everything. But at the same
but
time,
a driver
it's still the literal
Exa-
front of the grid and the literal back of the grid fighting for a position.
exactly. Yeah,
But it
and I
is
feel
George Russell though. I mean, he's a different beast. Like he's
Yeah.
very,
Yeah,
very
well, I
good.
mean, you do have all of that, but still, I don't think that should have been a position that Bottas finds himself in.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that race just shows to highlight Bottas' weakness. I feel, which is racecraft. He's not
Racecraft, yeah.
that great of a Sunday driver, which he used to be in the Williams days. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, if he wants to get the preferred strategy and everything, he needs first of all he needs to be ahead of Hamilton, and he needs to and to be ahead of Hamilton, you need to be a whole different animal, which only Rosberg has been so far in Hamilton's career, you could say.
Yeah.
Maybe even Jenson Button, I think, in the McLaren days. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well.
Yeah, well,
Sucks
that
to
was
be
a
Bottas.
yep. Sucks to be Bottas, but it's how his season's gonna pan out, I think. But moving on a bit further down the grid, maybe we did talk about the battle for 10th in Spain, and it was pretty fun to watch. Really interesting watching three cars going into like the chicanes, and it was mainly, I believe it was Gasly, Stroll, and Kimi who were fighting for 10th place. So that was fun to watch. What do you guys think?
I think it was fun to watch, but the cameras were never really on the
Yeah.
on the back end of the grid. So I think
unfortunately.
yeah, that's a bad move by the director. But it was, I watched the like they upload videos onto YouTube, so I watched like the onboards, and it was
Right.
very, very close. Like Gasly was, I think, like only a few thousandths behind. Sorry, only a few hundredths of a second behind. Was it Ocon who finished above him?
Yep,
I think
ninth
someone,
was
Ocon
Yeah.
finished ninth, right?
Ocon
Yeah.
finished ninth. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really close. It was a drag race to the line, so I have no idea why they didn't show that. So it was very, very interesting.
Yeah. I think they just literally showed that last bit as they both crossed the line.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean, what's the use in that?
exactly.
But yeah,
But I have
But I
to
think
say
midfield.
that
Go ahead.
yeah, but I have to say that this season I feel Aston Martin have been quite disappointing
yep,
in
yeah,
general.
definitely.
Yeah. That's true.
And I know there's this whole controversy of they want to complain about the regulations and all that stuff, but I feel as a car manufacturer, whatever rules and regs you have in the FIA has implemented, you should just accept it and move on. And I think in this case, Aston Martin have not admitted that they have not done a good enough job, which they did the previous years, and they've just relied on basically the same car from last year to bring them forward. And I feel it's a bit disappointing because I really want to see Vettel succeed again. It's been so long since Vettel has been doing well. I mean, his last season at Ferrari was just a complete disaster, as we all know. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Aston Martin, I have no idea why Otmar is the team principal for Aston Martin.
Yeah.
I have no idea why he's complaining about the regulations when literally last year your team decided to not care about the about the regulations, decided to find like loopholes in the regulations and everything, and literally all the other 9 teams are abiding by the regulations. Well, apart from, we don't know if Ferrari are, but but everyone else is. I mean, from what we know, they are all following the regulations. So you should just suck it up. Either way, next year in 2022, it's a whole different set of regulations, and just like focus on that. Stop complaining about this season's regulations. It's ridiculous.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm quite passionate about that.
Well, I mean, we've talked about the Aston Martin's downfall, maybe. You could say them, dropping down the grid. But I think we also need to talk about Alfa Romeo finding their way up the grid from being one of
Yeah,
the
that-
back marker teams
Yeah.
last season. to
That's a
fighting
big
for
step
points this
up, I would
season.
say, for Alpha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's quite a
Definitely,
good
yeah.
step, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this season it just comes to show how close the pack has in generally been.
Yeah.
Like you look at quali, I think all the cars were like I believe in Spain in Q1, all the cars from first to I think 15 to 16, all of them were within I think 7 or 8 tenths, or I think a
Yeah.
second, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
So the pack has really just condensed in that sense. So it makes it very hard because even I was like quite disappointed with Yuki this season, like so far how Yuki's season has been, and but then if you look at how he's comparing against Gasly, he's not that far off Gasly in that sense. So I mean, I'm just showing the contrast that in terms of positions, Yuki is quite low down, but then when you compare him with his teammate, the pack has just condensed so much that
Yeah.
yeah, it's just sometimes it makes me wonder if maybe the new like 2022 regulations which will come in, do we actually need them? I'm not too sure, but that's
That's
for
a
a
very
different
good point,
topic.
actually.
Yeah, that's
Well,
for
I
a
mean, it
different.
was supposed to make racing closer, and I think we've had a lot of close racing this season. Maybe there's not so much of racing between the top teams and the midfield teams, because
Yeah.
like just by saying it, there's a top team and a midfield team, so that in itself shows that there isn't. But if you just look at within the top spots, within the podium spots, and then you just look at within the like maybe 6 to about 11, 12, there's just so much competition going on down there, and that's really what the 2022 regulations were supposed to achieve. But we've kind of done it this season.
But
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
we have to wait for the season to pan out, I think, because like I think teams are still like working out kinks, and they're still, I mean, they're still figuring out their own car. Testing sometimes is not enough. You have to see race performance and everything. There's a lot of data that they analyze to improve the car within the season itself. So I feel like that eventually I think we'll start to see the pack like separate out a bit. I feel where we really have a battle on our hands is the battle for third between McLaren and Ferrari, because McLaren have risen, after like their little slump in 2015 2016.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah.
really improved, and Ferrari has just fallen off a cliff, and they're really being held together by Charles Leclerc. So
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, so it's just they're being saved. Like last season could have been so embarrassing for them, but there were a handful of races where Leclerc finished second, and
Yeah.
that's like 18 points if you're second. And I just feel like he saved them from the most embarrassing season in their history, because
I mean, it was still quite embarrassing. I think it was
Yeah,
their
it was.
lowest ever finish for some 40 odd years or something. So,
it
Yeah.
could have been worse. That's why, so it could have been worse. And Enzo Ferrari would have been turning in his grave, like seeing the way the team has completely fallen off. And I'm a
Yeah.
Ferrari fan, just for the people who are listening.
Okay.
But I'm starting to hate the team more and more by the day.
Yeah.
And
one thing which makes me
Understandable.
wonder a lot is, in 2019, Ferrari had, I would say, the best car on the grid after, I believe, the mid-season break, where they were just on a complete fly in qualifying with Charles and,
Yeah.
winning at Monza and everything. And then, there was this whole controversy of the Ferrari engine breaking
Yeah.
some rules and everything.
Yeah.
And then the FIA, somehow they have some undisclosed agreement with Ferrari.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the following season, Ferrari's power unit was nowhere.
Yeah.
They were the slowest, arguably. All the Ferrari powered cars were struggling. Alpha and Haas were struggling as well.
Yeah.
So it just makes me wonder what was this actual illegality thing which Ferrari did. And I think it's just not us as fans which are curious, but even the teams want to know. Like I
Yeah.
believe Christian Horner has always come down and said that he wants full disclosure of what this whole agreement is about, or what Ferrari broke, whatsoever. And I think we should know, but unfortunately, I don't think we are gonna get to know it anytime soon.
So in terms of so in terms of details about what was illegal, it was a fuel regulator, if I remember correctly. It was
Something about a fuel,
yeah. And the thing that really makes it shady is the like the fine or punishment that the FIA gave to
Ferrari
Ferrari has
itself,
been
yeah.
kept under wraps. So that is already a sign that you are guilty, right? Like then you might as well just
Exactly.
openly say it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, and I really I really hate the way how the team has gone under uh,
Yeah.
Mr. Spinala.
I think this same thing actually took, not same thing, but in a way a similar situation with Racing Point took place last season. Where they had this whole brake duct issue, which they copied from Mercedes and stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the FIA Formula One gave them a points deduction and some fine. And this was full disclosure of everything what they did wrong, and they got a points deduction from the actual championship and everything. And in that case, when you compare it with Ferrari, there was nothing of that sort to Ferrari, and we could arguably say that Ferrari's fault was a lot bigger in that sense, like the
I think it was a
whatever they
much bigger
did.
impact on the car. I would say.
Exactly, yeah. So I don't know. There's some biasness of FIA towards Ferrari, I guess. I don't know. That's a whole different controversy, I would say. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's some interesting conspiracies, I would say.
Mm.
Yep. Well, but all that is said and done. But at the end of the day, I think Ferrari now this season look like they are improving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
So-
say so. Yeah. I think getting Sainz was a very good move. I think traditionally they've always relied on more experienced drivers, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I think placing their money on Sainz, I think Sainz has had a decent campaign so far, nothing too flashy, but I think it's a move in the right direction because I think they can build the team around Charles, and
I think that is said
that-
and
that
done
is-
already.
yeah.
Hmm.
Charles is their protege. They want to get him to be the world champion and everything.
definitely.
Yeah.
So
But I don't think Carlos is going to make it any easier.
definitely, I think Carlos is a pretty solid driver as well. I think him and Lando were pretty. They were pretty close up
Yeah.
until the last race, right? For last season's driver.
Yeah.
Qualifying was
They were,
like
they were,
11.
yeah.
Yeah, they were very close.
They were very close in terms of total points. So I would say I think picking Carlos is a move. I mean, is the right decision for Ferrari to, I would say, get them, or at least take steps to get them back to where they're supposed to be. But having said that, I think McLaren are also very, very strong, and I would say that right now I think McLaren are probably better placed than Ferrari
Yeah.
in terms of. I think in terms of how, especially considering how Lando is performing so far, I think he's shown more than enough promise to actually probably get McLaren to back to the top, if you like to say, yeah.
Because I think you see all these different teams, they have their own little prodigal kind of driver. With
Yeah.
Red Bull is obviously Max, and with Ferrari, you have Charles, and then with McLaren we have Lando. And
Lando.
Yeah.
so these are the drivers they can kind of like aim to build their team around,
Mm.
as long as they can keep they can have a competitive car, and that can be assuring enough for the drivers to stay there and continue to keep performing, while these teams can also keep building the cars around these drivers.
Mm.
But I feel one thing about McLaren is it's a bit of a, I wouldn't say weird situation, but the situation at McLaren is different in that sense that you have Lando, who's obviously the most experienced guy in the car, but then you have a arguably better driver and one of the, I would say, the best drivers on the grid after Hamilton and Max. I would say Daniel Ricciardo there in the next seat beside Norris, and Ricciardo's still trying to find his feet, of course, in a McLaren, because all cars are different, and he's not driven the McLaren before this.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
then
he
in
did
terms,
say he's not feeling confident enough in the
Yeah.
McLaren yet.
No,
exactly.
But to be fair though, I mean, when comes Saturday, Ricardo is slapping Norris because Ricardo has finished 3 times above Norris, and Norris has only finished above Ricardo once. When it comes to Saturday,
Yeah, but to be fair, I would
it's
say
the
Norris.
Sunday that Ricardo is lacking. So, if once he gets to form, I think we have a good battle on our hands.
Yeah. No, but I would also say that Norris actually has been performing quite well in quali all the way until Q3, where I think in Imola he should have gotten P2, but he invalidated the lap. And then
yeah.
even in Spain, I think up until Q3, Lando was way ahead of Ricardo, but then he just couldn't keep the lap together in Q3 for some reason, and
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know where he qualified. I think 8th or 9th in the end.
Yep. I
I
guess
guess
that's
when
where
it comes to the faster
that's- yeah.
pace.
Yeah, and that's where the experience comes in also, Ricardo,
Yeah.
to be
Of
calm
course,
in
yeah.
that situation. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would say McLaren have the, in my opinion, because I'm not being biased. I'm a McLaren fan, but I feel that McLaren have the best driver pairing, where you have Lando, who is a very quick guy, and then you have Ricardo, who's very experienced race winner, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely we all know that Ricardo came to McLaren because he wants to win the World Drivers' Championship, and I hope, touch wood, that maybe in the next 2-3 years that might happen, and yeah, we might see McLaren back up at the top again, hopefully.
Yeah, I think Lando has a very good chance, provided McLaren get their act, not, I wouldn't say get their act together. If they continue on this upward trend that they've gone, I think Lando within the next maybe 4 or 5 years he'll be up there for. We might see, like a George Russell versus
Yeah.
Lando Norris versus Charles Leclerc for the World Championship. I
Versus
guess.
Max as well.
Yeah, versus Max.
Yeah,
sorry.
of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess. Well, one can hope, right? We'll see if that.
I mean, the future is bright for F1, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
exciting young talents already in the in the field, and we also have a few more exciting drivers coming from F2 as well, like Callum Ilott and stuff. We're just waiting for their chance, hopefully.
Yeah.
But who will I? Okay, never mind. That's a separate topic.
Yeah, that's maybe one for the silly season
Yeah.
in the future. Not yet. But well, I mean, speaking of exciting young drivers, I think AlphaTauri have a very good lineup in that sense. They have, obviously Gasly, who has he had a pretty good season last season, and they also have Yuki Tsunoda, who is we've seen how explosive he can be at times, but
He's the angry bird, basically.
Yeah, he is.
of course, yeah.
Yeah.
But I can't help but feel that they've had a bit of a disappointing opening season here, especially after how the testing went.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like maybe they should be finishing higher or performing better, or especially during the race. So
Yeah, I feel like in terms of qualifying, AlphaTauri has been pretty decent. I mean, if you take Spain apart, because Spain was just, the cars were really close, but then I can't remember exactly how much, but then from what I can recall, they were quite close at the top at the beginning of the season, and I think Gasly qualified fourth or fifth in the very first race in Bahrain, and so like in terms of quality, we can see that Alpha have a very good car, but then when it comes to race, something's just not clicking for them right now, I feel. And Yuki's also, I feel he's had quite a disappointing start, I would say. And I think we all can admit, we all love Yuki. It's very hard to hate Yuki, but then he definitely needs to do better, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very hot-headed guy. I feel like the first race proved how good he actually is, because he was overtaking left, right, and center. And it was very nice to watch.
Yeah.
But he's sort of fallen off, and I don't really think it was a good idea for him. I don't know if you guys know, but after qualifying in Spain, he got kicked out in Q1, and
he blamed the team.
Yeah,
basically.
he
Right.
blamed the team, and I was watching that live, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
It was a bit immature for him, I would say.
Yeah, essentially he was saying that he was too fast for the car, which is, I mean, you don't want to throw your new team under the bus like that. You're an F1 rookie, and I actually told the guys in the WhatsApp chat. I said, Yuki needs a PI agent like ASAP, and the very next
I'm sure he
day,
does have. It's just that the PI agent
and
can't handle him either.
yeah, and the very next day he got a apology on Instagram, so he gave an apology on
that's right.
Instagram. So I just hope he can keep his head, because he's very, very talented, and I like talented youngsters to stay in Formula One, and so that in the upcoming years will really be very exciting. But he shouldn't really lose his mind like that. Like, it's a bit, it's not a good sign. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. To me, the Yuki's incident actually reminded me of George Russell and Bottas' incident at Imola, where Russell was quite angry with Bottas, where arguably it was actually Russell's own fault for crashing into Bottas, actually.
I think that's still quite hotly debated whose fault it was, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But then, but what Russell did, his actions, where he actually hit Bottas, I think, on the helmet.
Yeah.
And
He
that was
flipped him the finger or something.
Yeah.
No, Bottas gave
Yeah,
the finger
Bottas
back.
gave-
Oh,
Yeah,
Bottas
Bottas
gave.
I mean, it was
Yeah, I saw
comic.
that on live TV. They didn't censor it or anything. I was quite shocked.
it
say
was
that
quite
he's-
comic in its own way, but then
Yeah.
as a sportsman kind of ship, I think what Russell did there was wrong, and he did come up apologize about it, which is
Yeah.
good
Yeah,
about
that
it.
was good
Yeah.
on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just one incident. Like I feel like where these young rookies have to, I feel, mature a bit. But I guess you only learn once you make mistakes.
Yeah.
Of
So
course.
But even the Russell one, I would say, like personally, I'd say, it's sort of it's very like he just crashed, right? So I think it's very reactionary. Whereas for Yuki, he had a good 20 minutes before he went to the interview. So
Hmm.
I'm very, very sure that Alpha Tauri's some PR person would have told him, what you can talk about, what you can't talk about. And he just went there and he just he just vented his frustration, I guess. But it's never
I
a
think
good idea to
Verstappen
do
did
that.
something similar a few years back, right, on Ocon for.
No,
oh
okay,
yeah,
but
in
but that's
Brazil.
That
but
was
But
a
that
bit
was a
more
blaming
different
another
justified, I would think.
driver. That's the thing. I
Yeah.
love to see drivers blaming other drivers. I
Okay.
love to see that. But you can't be a driver. You can't bite the hand that feeds you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get
It's
it.
Hmm.
ridiculous. Of course, unless it's warranted, unless it's like Red Bull and Renault, with the engine problems and everything, that I can understand. When you as a driver have made the mistakes and are blaming the team for it, I find it very hard to accept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but of course, like we say, I mean, you could of course say at the heat of the moment, it's hard for the driver to realize his own mistake as well, because you have all
Yeah.
that adrenaline rush and everything from whatever just happened. So, I mean, of course, that's no way to justify, but then I
Yeah.
would say, yeah, you should have a more cool, calm head. I would say.
I think road rage is like a common. Even when either of us are driving,
Yeah.
I mean, I mean we're not F1 drivers, but when someone else makes a mistake, we obviously feel angry like naturally, and I think it's like that thing is multiplied. It's amplified, especially if you're a race car driver,
Yeah.
because you
Of course.
expect everyone to be quality drivers, and okay, I know I'm talking about drivers on drivers, but I guess that I'm talking more about the emotional part, where drivers are probably more hot-headed right after they finish their drive. So perhaps he took it out on the team
Yeah.
that day. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yep. Fair enough. And that's a good way to sum it up for AlphaTauri, I guess.
Yep.
So anyway, moving on. So we did talk about Hamilton and Verstappen in Spain, but it was definitely not a one-off thing. We've seen it all season so far, all 4 races. Very, very close racing, and well, prediction-wise, who do we think is gonna come out on top? Let me just go first. I will say Hamilton, obviously, because I'm a Hamilton fan. I have been for a very long time. And I think in the end, he has the maturity and the speed to just take it home race after race.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah, I
So
think-
what do you guys think?
I think if Red Bull makes the right calls and have a substantial amount of luck behind them, Verstappen can win it. But Red Bull I don't think they have they're strategically very careless. I
Mhm.
think so. I think Hamilton will take it.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, I would say, my head tells me Hamilton will win logically, but my heart wants Verstappen to win because I want the. I mean, I'm not an anti-Mercedes fan by any means, but as just a fan of the sport, we have seen such a big Mercedes dominance. I want someone to end that Mercedes dominance,
Yeah.
and that's what I want to happen. But then, logically speaking, I feel Mercedes have the faster car. Mercedes have the advantage in strategy as well until Checo comes in. Whenever he comes in, then we can maybe look to see if how we can help Max push more, push Mercedes more towards making a strategic error. Because I guess that's what happened in Spain as well, where the pressure from both drivers put Red Bull into an error in strategy. So that's how I see it as. But then I feel in terms of pure pace wise, I think Verstappen matches Hamilton clearly on pure pace. It's just ultimately, like strategic calls, who can make the better strategy, that would determine who will win the championship this season.
Yep.
Yep. Fair enough. Vikas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Hamilton definitely has experience on his side, but myself being a Red Bull and a big Max Verstappen fan, I do hope that we can end Mercedes dominance. But I think realistically, Hamilton has this in the bag. I think Verstappen has been starting the races pretty well. He's been taking these big move, like making these big moves right
He's been
off.
quite aggressive
Yeah,
actually. If
at
you
the
look at
start.
it at the
He
start,
has.
you
Yeah,
know,
even I was
Even in
just
Spain.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was just looking at the Spain, like Julian Palmer's analysis of the Spain start, and if you just look at how aggressively Max is going into the first corner, if Lewis doesn't back out, it's end of the
it's a
race for
crash.
both of
It's a
them.
crash, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The one thing about Max is he has no. I would say he races with no fear, and I would say Hamilton in that sense is a more experienced driver, and I guess okay that fearlessness is obviously there because he's been there, and I mean he's been there and done that. But I would say that because of Max's lack of fear, I still feel he has that the tendency to miss out on a few places, or maybe he may make mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
which maybe Hamilton may not make, and
Yeah.
I think that will probably give Hamilton the edge over the course of the season, and I think that's why Hamilton will probably take it home.
But I feel, to win the championship, you have to get your elbows out, and I think that's what Max has been doing so far.
Yeah,
Which, throughout whenever Bottas has been challenging Hamilton, we have not seen that from Bottas. So, I mean, this is just a contrast between both the drivers.
yeah. I think Verstappen will definitely split the Mercedes. Like I think that's for sure. But
Yep, I
I
will
would,
agree with that.
yeah. I think okay. To be fair, I think Max has had a bit of maturity in his driving. I think
He's matured a lot, I would say,
I
over
would
the
say,
Yeah,
past 2 years.
absolutely. Yeah.
So I would say he's definitely improving. He's up there, but whether he can knock Hamilton off his perch, I think it's a tough call to make. I think if you were to bet, I think you'd put your money on Hamilton. It'll be a big risk to take on Verstappen, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, just out of the top of my head, as much as I can remember, I can't remember the last time Max actually made a proper mistake by himself. Whether it's a crash or whether it's something, I just don't remember it honestly. Whereas Lewis, if you look just 2, 3 races back at Imola, he made that, careless mistake where he, went into the gravel and then
Yeah.
actually
That's
just hit the tire barrier as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just saying that Max has really matured a lot over the past 2 years, and we just need Red Bull to get their act together. And if Red Bull get their act together in terms of strategy and everything, and support Max, I think we can be up for a good fight between both of them.
Yeah. And
Yep.
I just want to add, I sort of in a weird way just want Hamilton to win this and then just like retire. Because no, okay, so because historically, right, historically in Formula One, when a period of dominance ends, there is a power vacuum. In terms of like when a driver's dominance ends, there's a power vacuum. So in 2004, Schumacher won his 7th title. In the next 6 years, there were 5 different world champions.
Oof.
So Alonso, Raikkonen, Hamilton, Button, and Vettel. So it's like when there's a power vacuum in Formula One, it gets very, very interesting. I can go back, like you can even go to the Senna days, but after unfortunately Senna passed away, there's a power vacuum, and it's very, very nice to see, I guess. Like
Yeah,
so,
but
I'm just
Vicky,
waiting for that
I
part.
hate to burst your bubble, but I was reading an article recently. I don't think Hamilton's going anywhere.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
he just
He in
he's
fact wants
looking
to
for
sign
a
a
new
new
contract.
contract. He
right?
said he wants
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
negotiate a new contract with Mercedes.
Yeah, if I was getting 40 million a year, I would want to negotiate a new contract as well.
No, but to be fair to Hamilton, okay, over the past every season, right, he has just improved a lot from the last season, and every season, from what I've read statistically, has been a better season start than he has ever had. Like even this season, I think is one of his best ever starts. And well, he's already a 7-time world champion, so that just shows how he's improving every day and just becoming a better driver as he age. And even like you look at Alonso is what, 38, 39 now, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So there's Hamilton's 35, so he still has, well, if he wants to be in the sport, if he still has that passion to drive, he can be there for quite a long time. I mean, Raikkonen's still there, he's 40 and he's still there.
Yeah.
So
I have no problems with him being on the grid. I just want the Lewis
Just want him
George
out of
again
the
to see
top
it.
car, I guess.
Yeah. It's
I mean, it would be nice to see if Hamilton, after a period of good wins, dominance, he just takes a step back and goes to a midfield team. I think that would be nice.
yes.
But then I don't think anyone can afford him.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
I don't think it's ever gonna happen. It's unfortunate. But
Yep.
yeah.
And while we're on the topic of predicting battles at the end of the season, let's just also have a quick prediction. Race for third in the constructors championship. I assume we can all agree that it will come down to Ferrari or McLaren.
Yeah.
So who are we putting our money on?
Who wants to go first?
I'll say McLaren because first of all, I'm a McLaren fan, so I have to vouch for McLaren. But then at the same time, if I'm speaking realistically, I think McLaren just have a better edge over Ferrari in that sense. But it's very tight. It's very hard to predict because both the past two races, both the teams Ferrari and McLaren have been very close. So ultimately, it comes down to who makes less mistakes on the track as well as on in terms of strategy and everything. So it will be nice to see because even in Spain we saw Lando and Carlos battle each other, which is quite nice because usually when they were back in McLaren they wouldn't used to be so close because sometimes team would just put in orders for them to not battle. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean it's nice to see, and then we also have Ricardo. Who was finished P5. I think that's his best result so far in the McLaren as well.
Yep.
So yeah, but it's very close. I think Ferrari definitely have made a big step up from last year, and it'll be interesting to see how it pans down all the way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the Ferrari fan, what do you think?
I'm well. I think I think Ferrari are gonna edge it, but
Okay.
yeah, I purely because I feel Sainz looks more comfortable in the Ferrari than Ricardo does in the McLaren, which can change within the next 2-3 races. But at currently, I feel Ferrari will go on to win it. Not to win it, to get third. How the mighty have fallen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so Ferrari.
Vikas?
Yeah, I would put my money on McLaren personally because I feel like I feel right now I know Leclerc is overachieving with the car he has. Okay, maybe not this season, perhaps last season. Definitely, he was the hard carry for the team.
Mm-hmm.
But I think McLaren have what it takes to secure third. I think they have two very good drivers. As what Yash said, I think they have a good balance of experience as well as
Young talent.
young talent. And I think Lando is a very exciting young driver coming up. I think McLaren could perhaps go back to the I think their glory days, and I think it's coming sooner than all of us think. And
Possible,
yeah,
possible.
I would back them to finish third.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I would probably say McLaren as well. I
3-2.
really feel like they have looked the stronger team this season. So yeah, they could go on to do it quite easily.
I wouldn't say it's
Okay.
easy, but
Yeah.
yeah, we shall see.
But
I guess.
I
at the
do
end
feel
of
like
the day.
they can have a bit of a comfortable lead over Ferrari, because
It's not like
let's
last.
not
I think
forget
last season
McLaren
was
also have
quite
the
easy.
faster car.
Yeah,
I would say.
that's true.
Yeah.
Like last season was quite easy for McLaren to get third. I think they weren't really in battle. Okay, maybe you had like Racing Point, but then they kind of dropped off at the end of the season as well. Racing Point. So
Yep.
but I think this season definitely. I think it'll be a lot closer fight than we imagine. I think.
Yep. Of course. And well, that brings us to our predictions for the upcoming race, and that is Monaco, everyone's favorite race. Yay!
I would say the Saturday is the
Yeah,
favorite, not the Sunday.
yeah. The Sunday is a snooze fest.
Yeah, I know.
Whoever
it's-
wins Saturday wins Sunday. So
Yeah. But good things are coming about in Monaco, as we will be expecting fans back in the stands.
Yeah,
Of course,
that's
in
great.
smaller numbers than we would normally have, but it's always nice to see them back.
yeah.
So
And
that's
And it's great
2
to see
weekends from
Monaco
now.
as well.
Sorry.
It's great to see Monaco as well because we missed Monaco
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah.
Monaco's,
Yes, that's
although
true.
it might not have the greatest races, it's a very
It's a
prestigious
very historic
kind of
place,
race.
of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Okay, so well, really, let's just make it really quick. Who do we think is going to be on top Saturday, and who's going to be on top Sunday? BK.
Again.
Yeah.
Okay, BK fine. Yeah.
No, Vikas go first. Go on.
Okay, because
Okay. Yeah, I think Hamilton will be on pole and Hamilton will finish the race. on top, and I think Max will split the Mercedes once again.
So it's
Okay, it's a safe prediction.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a
Hamburg,
pretty
All things
Hamburg bot
considered.
again.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. BK.
Yeah, okay. I'm not so sure about. Oh, okay. You know what? Might as well. Saturday, I think I'm gonna back Red Bull for this one because historically not historically, but they tend to do quite well in street circuits, unless they shoot themselves in the foot like they did in Baku in 2018, I think 2017, 2018, and
Yeah.
like Max is a very very good driver. He has for a young guy, he has quite a lot of experience driving in Monaco. So I think I'm gonna back him for this one. Let's just see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yash, what about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna back Max as well. I think Red Bull they just in terms of the like because they have a very low downforce kind of car,
Yeah.
it's very suited towards Monaco, you know. So
Yeah.
I mean, of course, even Mercedes they have been very dominant at Monaco as well. In the early hybrid eras. So it's a track which suits actually, if you look at it, both cars. So ultimately, the Sunday is going to pan out on strategy purely, but on Saturday, I think Max will come out on top. Because at the same time, I just want Max to deny Hamilton getting poles where Hamilton stays on 100, so that once Hamilton reaches the 100 wins, we can say, you know, Hamilton has won 100 poles and 100 wins, which is
Yeah.
going to sound nice. But yeah,
That's as good a reason as any. I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take it.
yeah. But jokes aside, I feel on Sunday it's going to come down purely on strategy, and that's going to be hard to predict, I would say.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I think I would have to say Max for both, actually. It's
Aren't you a Hamilton fan? I thought
I
you
am,
might
yeah,
have
I
gone
know,
with
I am.
Hamilton.
I am, but you know, I feel like this is gonna come down to who has the better setup on Saturday, and it has tended to be Red Bull this season. So I think I will give them the advantage here.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you know Red Bull don't make any stupid strategic blunders,
Yep,
they
that's
should be
the thing.
fine. If they get pulled, they should be fine.
Yeah.
They can just keep it
Remember
a simple
they,
race.
Yeah, they screwed up in 2017 with Ricardo's pit
Yeah,
stop.
Ricardo.
That's
Yeah.
right.
They ended up giving the victory to Ferrari. So, you know, you can
I thought wasn't it Lewis?
no. 2017 Monaco.
Wasn't it 2016? I
Oh,
think?
sorry. Yeah,
It was
2016 was Lewis. Yeah, sorry. It was
Yeah.
2016, not 2017.
Yeah, and then Ricardo redeemed it in 2018.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was retribution for him if you look at it that way.
Yeah. Redemption Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Redemption. Of course.
Wasn't that the name of the Drive to Survive episode?
I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew I heard it somewhere. Okay.
Yeah.
And anything
Okay,
else?
so moving on to this segment, which has been a staple on all our TNT episodes so far. L and Dub of the week, of course, and start with L of the week. Any nominations? I mean, there's one very easy one, but
What?
maybe we
I
could
guess
work a bit harder.
work a bit. I mean, the one I can think of is obviously Red Bull's strategy, but
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that's the one that stands out for me. Unless you guys have something out of the ordinary.
Yeah. I was thinking, as in, I thought the obvious one was Mazepin.
Yeah, my
but-
obvious one was
Yeah.
Mazepin as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So he gets an L for just existing. But L of the week, I think Red Bull, it's going to be quite hard to argue against them.
To me, I would say it's Alpine actually, because Alpine had a very good quali on Saturday, if I'm not wrong. I think they were in top 10, and then on Sunday they just didn't get any proper points. Did they get any points? I don't
They did.
remember.
Ocon got 2 for
yeah.
9.
Ocon only, I
Ocon
think.
got-
Yeah, but Alonso just fell back, I think.
Yep, Fernando was
So-
a lap down. I think it was almost 2 down.
Yep.
Yep. So for me, I would go with Alpine.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Honorable mention, I think, should be given to Alfa Romeo for Giovinazzi's pit stop.
Oh yeah, they got the wrong set of tires. That's
I
the
think
one,
they
right?
had a punctured tire in the pit. That
Oh,
was
who had
just-
the wrong set of tires? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot.
That was Bottas and
Yeah.
Yeah, I
and
think
Sakir last
you're
year,
about
isn't it?
2020
No. They
Sakir.
in Spain this weekend there was someone took they brought the wrong set of tires. Oh my god, why can't I remember? Okay, wait. You guys carry on first. I'm gonna find it.
Okay. Well, while he does that, let's move on to dub of the week. I mean, dub of the week, I would have to give my nomination to Mercedes strategy team.
Yeah, I think that's the only one we can think of, honestly,
Yeah,
because
it's hard to argue
Mercedes
against that.
have been. I mean, the strategy was the one which won Hamilton a race. We can all agree with that.
Mm,
Yeah.
Yep. And
BK still finding.
Yeah. Okay, no.
BK?
It was Giovinazzi. So yeah, I was wondering why they had to, because they all ran in, right? Because the tire sets have to match. So that's why I thought it was a completely different team.
Right.
But yeah, it was Giovinazzi. Sorry, my
yeah,
bad.
they had that one tire that was punctured in the garage
Yeah,
somehow,
yeah.
and they had to change the whole set.
Yeah.
This gives
Yep.
me a lot of PTSD for Sakir last year.
I don't think it could be worse than mine. It was horrendous to watch. That's all. That's
Yeah.
all I can say.
Yeah. I was
okay.
heartbroken for George.
Yeah,
It's okay, his time will come. His
fair to
time
say
will
everyone
come.
was.
But Perez got the win, so you know.
That's also
It's a bittersweet moment, I would say.
Yeah. But you know, George will have his time. He's gonna get that Mercedes seat one day. So, I'm
I
pretty
hope
sure.
he gets, because we can't really be too sure, because same thing was said about Ocon, and Mercedes released Ocon, you know. So I mean, I'm sure this is something which might be at the back of George's head.
Oh, but George has been overachieving with the Williams. He's also a F2 champion. So
Yeah.
I feel it would take a lot more for Toto to drop George Russell, I feel.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yep, but yeah, this is a discussion for another day,
Yeah.
not
Yep.
today. But well, as for today, that is it. We have reached the end of our very first Formula One episode, and thank you all for listening. And I hope you do enjoy it. If you do, please do consider following us on Spotify. Please do subscribe to us on YouTube, and do stay tuned to us for more great content like this. And until next time we meet, ciao guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.